Don Wagner was the pastor emeritus at our congregation. And every year, he would share the story of The Other Wise Man by Henry Van Dyke. Even as a college student, I would make sure I was in church, whether my mom went or not, because I wanted to hear that story. It's a story that has touched me deeply and has had a deep impact on my faith journey and my understanding of God. And so, even though Pastor Don has entered life eternal, I carry on his tradition. And each Sunday, the first Sunday in Epiphany, I share this story with you. And I pray that it has even half of the impact on any of you that it has had on me. In the days when Augustus Caesar ruled over many kings, including Herod in Jerusalem, there lived in the mountains of Persia a certain man named Artaban. Artaban was one of the Magi, learned men who would study the stars at night in search of truth about the one God. Together with his friends Caspar, Melchior, and Balthazar, Artaban had made an amazing discovery. From ancient writings, they had discovered a promise that at a certain time, a new star would rise. And at that star's rising, a king would be born. He would be the truth, sent from the one God, the Son of the Most High. Artaban believed the time to be near, and so he sold his house and his possessions, and with them he bought 3 jewels as gifts for the new king. He bought a ruby as deep and blue as the Persian night sky. A sapphire. Did I say ruby? A sapphire as deep and blue as the Persian night sky. And a ruby as bright and red as the first rays of sunrise. And a pearl as pure and white as the snow-capped mountains at twilight. Each night, Artaban spent searching the sky until at last, is that it? In the distant horizon, just a spark at first, but as it rose, it grew first blue, then red, then a dazzling bright white light. It is the sign, Artaban exclaimed. And so with haste he gathered together food and provisions for his journey. Artaban had made arrangements with his friends, Caspar, Melchior, and Balthazar, that they would meet by midnight at the temple in Babylon, 10 days from the stars rising. He could not be late. Quickly, Artaban saddled Vazda, his fastest horse, and together they rode off into the night. They traveled over grassy hills and through lush valleys, climbing mountains and crossing rivers, barely stopping for food or rest. On the 10th day, Artaban knew that Vazda was nearly exhausted, but they were only a few hours from Babylon, when suddenly something startled Vazda. Artaban dismounted, and there on the side of the road was the body of a man. Artaban turned to leave, but there was a groan and a tug at his robe. The man was alive. Artaban Artaban knew that without help, this man would not survive the night. But if he helped, he would surely miss his friends. Artaban turned to the star he had been following. O God of light, give me the wisdom to know that which you would have me do. And with that, Artaban knew. Hour after hour, he spent nursing the man back to health, giving him cool sips of water and medicine he mixed from herbs he carried with him. When at last the man was better, he said to Artaban, I have nothing with which to repay you, but I can offer you this. From our prophets, we know that the Messiah is to be born in Bethlehem, not Jerusalem. And that is where you must seek him. And with a Hebrew man's blessing, Artaban rode off, reaching Babylon by the first light of dawn. His friends were long gone, but there under a brick at the foot of the temple, they left him a note. Artaban, we have waited until long past midnight, when we can delay no longer. We go to find the king. Come and follow us across the desert. Artaban's heart sank. He knew that Vasda was too worn and tired to make this journey alone. And so reluctantly, he sold the sapphire. And with it, he bought a camel and provisions for the long journey ahead. Night after night, week after week, month after month, Artaban crossed the desert, always following the star, always hoping to catch up with his friends, always praying to find his king. When at last he reached Bethlehem, he searched the town. And there, in a small cottage, he spotted a young woman with a baby. Could it be? No, it wasn't. But she fed him, and she talked with him. Yes, 3 strangers had been here, and they brought with them very odd gifts for Joseph and Mary and their son. But just as quickly as they came, they left. And then Joseph and his family, they left in the night, and no one knows why. But rumor has it they went to Egypt. All at once there was an uproar in the streets. Screaming and shouting, swords clashing, women crying out. The soldiers, Herod's soldiers, they're killing our children. Artaban wasted no time. He motioned for the woman and her child to hide in the corner, and he went and stood, filling the doorway. Artaban reached his hand in his pocket and pulled out the ruby. When the captain of the guard approached, Artaban said simply, I am alone here, and I have this jewel for whoever will leave me in peace. The man greedily snatched up the ruby and motioned for the other soldiers to move on. Once more, Artaban turned to the night sky. Oh God of truth, forgive me for saying that which was not true in order to save the life of this child, and for once more giving to another that which was meant only for you. Will I ever be worthy to see the King? The next morning, Artaban left for Egypt. He saw the Nile and the pyramids. He found many to serve, but none to worship. After 33 years with his body old and tired, Artaban thought to return once more to Jerusalem to seek the King there. When he arrived, the city was busy with preparations for the Passover, but there was something more in the air, a pushing, a shoving, a tension. When Artaban asked what was going on, he was told, well, haven't you heard? 2 thieves are to be crucified, and with them a man, Jesus of Nazareth. Some say that he is the Son of God. He is to be executed for saying that he was the King of the Jews. Artaban's heart began to race. Could this be? Could this be the one he has been searching for all of these years? And then he reached his hand in his pocket and felt the pearl. Maybe, just maybe, he could give the pearl to the enemies of the King and rescue him. He turned to find him, and just then 2 soldiers crossed his path, dragging a young girl. She was dirty. Her hair was tangled. Her dress was torn. She cried out to him, "Help me, kind sir. My father died owing a large sum of money, and I am to be sold as a slave to pay his debt. Save me from a life worse than death." Twice before, Artaban had missed the King because he stopped to help others in need. But wouldn't helping this girl be a true act of love? And wasn't that what this God is all about? Artaban pressed the pearl in the hand of the young girl. "Your ransom is paid, my child." And just then, the sky went black. Thunder rolled through the streets, and the soldiers ran off as the buildings began to sway back and forth. A piece of tile from a roof broke off and fell and struck Artaban in the temple. He fell to the ground bleeding. As the young girl sat cradling Artaban in her lap, she couldn't see who he was speaking to, but she could hear him in his Persian tongue saying, "When, Lord? When did I see you hungry and feed you? When did I see you thirsty and give you drink? When did I see you a stranger and welcome you, or sick or in prison and care for you and visit you? I have searched for you for 33 years, and I have never seen your face." And then the girl heard the voice, gentle but strong. Whenever you served any of my children, you did so for me. And with a great peace, the other wise man found his king.